Hey, can I get one more? There's a book called The Brothers Karamazov. I don't know if any of you had to suffer through that in school or not. It's not a quick page turner or a grabber. I wouldn't recommend that you go pick it up today. But in the middle, there's sort of a poem or a story about the Grand Inquisitor. Jesus turns up in the city of Seville, Spain during the Spanish Inquisition, and he starts performing miracles all over the city, and people are so excited they don't know what to do. At the culmination of one of his big miracles, I think it's a little girl, has died, and she's in the coffin, and they're bringing her up to the church. And she's holding flowers, and the mother weeps at Jesus' feet and says, "Please save my little girl." And Jesus says, "Talitha cum." And the girl gets up, and everyone goes bananas. Jesus is back. And then the Grand Inquisitor comes out and crooks his little finger and points at Jesus, and they arrest Jesus, and they throw him into a jail cell. And the next day, they're going to burn Jesus at the stake. And the Inquisitor goes into Jesus' cell, and he gives this long reason why the church really doesn't need Jesus anymore. We've got things handled pretty well the way things are. Thank you very much. You really put a lot of faith and stock in human beings being able to set aside our petty differences and set aside our need for control and to exclude other people and to climb the ladder of success. We really don't need you. In fact, the church is doing much better work without you. That's why we're burning you at the stake. Jesus, of course, says nothing. The Inquisitor then does something very amazing, if you will, I guess. He opens the jail cell for Jesus to leave. And in a stunning reversal, instead of staying and being burned at the stake, Jesus gives the man's bloodless lips a kiss and runs off into the night. One more, Cant. I titled the sermon, "You Just Can't Stand It." Do you know people who always have to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory? Here we have Jesus. He's just fed the 5,000. He healed a royal official's son. The disciples are on a roll. Even the Samaritans are coming on board because of the woman at the well. We're looking at having to do a split service because we're not going to have enough seats. We're going to have a 9:30 contemporary service and then our traditional 11 o'clock service. We may have to get Dutch Brothers coffee and upgrade the Wi-Fi. Things are really happening. The ministry and the mission is on fire. And what does Jesus do? Right when things start to be going in the right direction, he's got to bring up this whole flesh and blood thing. And of course, for a Jew, the idea of drinking blood, of eating the flesh of an animal with blood in it, was absolutely abhorrent. But he says, you've got to eat my flesh. And then he says about the blood thing, by the way, you have to drink my blood. You've got to get me inside you, or else you have no part of me. And as it turns out, everyone goes away, except for the 12. And then Jesus says, do you all want to leave too? And in a stunning, let me have one more, Kate. In a stunning act of faith, Peter says, I'm going to be for something. I don't know. I don't have all the answers. I don't understand what it is you're teaching. And if you look at the Bible, they really don't ever really get it until later on when Jesus is already dead. But I'm going to be for something. You are the Holy One of God. You alone have the words of life. You basically have two different kinds of faith. You have a uniting and a gathering faith, or else you have a dividing and a scattering faith. And Jesus says there's no ambiguity. All the people that went away, what did they want? They wanted a Messiah king who was going to set them up as the chosen people, whip the Romans, and be rulers of the earth. And Jesus says, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to be a uniter. Everyone is going to belong, even at the cost of your specialness. Well, who needs that? We have one more. Do we really want the message of Jesus? Is it something we really want? I would put it to you, if you look at most organized religion, we don't really want the message of Jesus. We like to join groups, and we like to take sides. We've been doing it since we were hunter-gatherers, 40,000 years ago? I said last week, human beings haven't really changed all that much, and we haven't at our core. This is a meeting, I think it's in Atlanta. Guess what the meeting is about? Anybody guess? Yeah. And I'm not making a comment one way or another what you ought to do. But this turned violent. This turned violent. We like to take sides. It's easier. In religion too. Okay, can I get one more? In religion too. If you preach a negative dividing message, you'll fill football stadiums. If you teach a message that says, if you do this, this, and this, the preacher says, you'll get rich. If you exclude these people, if you don't act like this, whatever, if you preach that dividing message, you'll fill stadiums, you'll fill amphitheaters. This is Joel Osteen's church. I don't know does anyone know how many people can sit in Joel Osteen's church? Does it look like 25,000 or something? And his message isn't always negative at all, but it's a message of success and financial. It's not the message of Jesus. Who wants the message of Jesus? What do we have next? Oh my gosh, the rich young ruler. You know what your problem is, Sonny? You've got too much money. Better give it away and follow me. Who wants that? That's not a good message. We need to muddle that up a little bit. What do we have next? Washing other people's feet. God washing people's feet. I don't like other people's feet. I'm supposed to wash people's feet. I'm supposed to be that humble? Well, no. What's next? Oh, weakness all the way to a death on the cross. Embarrassing, humiliating. We really don't like the message of Jesus. And so we twist and turn it around into a lot of rules that we can actually do rather than follow Jesus. Is what I see for the most part. You know, I was listening to some people here, not in this church, but here in the valley, pointing sort of fingers at the LDS church and the faith of the Mormon community. And I thought, it's a different tradition. It's just a different tradition. They have different things that they hold dear. But who are we to set ourselves up as a judge if they're doing it right or if they're doing it wrong? As I recollect, the night that my mother got out of the car in the middle of the snowstorm when my dad went to go get the other vehicle and ended up dying, my dad came back and was flipped out because he couldn't find my mother. She had wandered off into the whiteout. And it was the LDS community, by and large, who turned out that night. They came with their avalanche dogs and their house pets. They drove tractors and snowcats down from the mountain. And the first responder spent 2 hours trying to revive my mother. If that's not loving your neighbor as yourself, I don't know what is. And I'm eternally grateful to them for doing that. It takes more energy to have a positive, uniting Jesus faith. I feel really lucky to be here at Kirkpatrick, and I'm not blowing smoke at you. For a preacher or a minister to have people email you after almost every sermon, wanting to discuss aspects of it. To be in a church where people actually look like they're paying attention and they're interested in what is going on. To be in a church where not a whole ton of people come running in at 11:08 and go dashing out at 11:41. You can't ask for much more as a pastor. And as I talk to my fellow pastors and I tell them about you, they are frankly amazed. Because most of them don't have that. I ask that you hold on to that positivity, that curiosity about your uniting and gathering faith. And that be something that we water like a delicate little plant so that it continues to grow. Let me have one more thing. As I start to wrap up here, it takes energy to follow Jesus. It takes energy, especially knowing that we're never going to completely do it right. But the fact of the matter is, having all the answers isn't the point. The point is a relationship with each other and a relationship with God. This is the foundation for a good life, this positive energy. It is also what will ultimately attract your children and your grandchildren. A negative energy will not attract people, but a positive energy will emanate through the entire community and through the world if we will let it. This positive energy of inclusion and love is what sets you up as a foundation for a life well lived. The knowledge that not just you, but me, and everyone else that doesn't look or act or think the same way we do, is loved by God just as much. That's the foundation for being at peace with other people, being at peace with God, and being at peace with yourself.